Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Absolute BSS, the Casualpetitive podcast about Bandai Namco's Battle Spirit Saga. I am one of your hosts, Cameron, and as always, now pretty much, I'm joined by Angel and Eric. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. How's everybody doing?
Nice. Welcome back.
Good. We have all three of us.
Yeah, we're all in the hacker den. All three of us are hanging out.
It's like we're making this. It's like we're making this a real regular thing.
Yeah. What's that about? Consistency? Not on my podcast. But yeah, we're excited. We've got we're gonna take a look at some set 2 cards in a retrospective kind of way. False Gods has been out for a while. We've seen it in a few different competitive settings, and we have also done a lot of casual playtesting between the three of us as well. So I feel like we're pretty well qualified to share some updated views on some of these set 2 cards. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Just want to catch up with you guys real quick. So what have you been playing or watching or getting into in the short time since we last talked to each other for like 2 hours?
What about you, Angel? What have you been getting into?
I've been trying to catch up on all my battle passes for all my other games.
Nice.
I've been playing Overwatch 2. They just have a new support character, so I've been playing with her, trying to see what she's about. Hearthstone, the Titans expansion pack came out, I think right when I was at Gen Con. So I've been trying to catch up on all the daily quests for that. Legend of Runeterra, I finally finished the last event pass to try to get all the Street Fighter skins that they had for that as well.
Nice.
While still trying to figure out, what I'm going to play for the grand opening. So a little bit of that, a little bit of balancing, trying to hang out with the wife, catch up on our TV shows.
Yeah.
Right now, we just kind of stick to watching cooking shows, though.
Nice.
Actually, we watched the last episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, so that's really funny.
Oh, wow.
It's hilarious. So, but that's it, man. Just been trying to catch up, gaming as much as I can, trying to get ready for this GO. So, how about you, Eric?
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Pikmin 4. Really been enjoying it. It's really fun.
Yeah,
it's great. So they set it up in a way where there are these like I can't remember the exact word. I think it's like Dondori challenges or something, where it's just like, can you get all of this stuff with your Pikmin in the time slot that they give you? So you have like 2 minutes to gather up all of the apples or whatever, and it's all about just like perfectly timing all of your tasks, so that way you're like getting enough Pikmin and then sending them to the proper place at the proper time. But it's super cool. It like doesn't have like, there's still like the day-night cycle where if you don't pull your Pikmin in at the end of the, when it turns nighttime, they die.
It's so stressful.
Very stressful, but honestly less so in this game, because there's there's not the added element. Like in the other game, it was like, you have a full day to do your tasks, but also if you don't complete this in like 30 days, then you run out of oxygen and you die. In this game, you're actually part of this like rescue team that was sent to the planet to rescue Captain Olimar, so you're kind of a little more equipped.
Cool.
So you don't have to, worry about that as much. But
that's neat.
Other than that, I do want to mention really quick, I taught my girlfriend how to play Battle Spirit Saga. So
he did it.
Yes. So I think she likes it. So she seemed pretty interested in. I have like a little Pentan life counter thing, so she saw Pentan and thought he looked pretty cool. So I think I'm gonna try and get her into a yellow deck. Cam and I were talking maybe like yellow 2-cost Fabled Beast or something.
Yeah, has all the cute little creatures on it. So
yeah, but she commented that she really likes the economy in the game of like the cores and then getting cores when you lose life and the cost reduction. So I think. That's spot on. I think that's what this game can really offer people, is this really cool economy system.
Yeah.
She also listens to our podcast regularly, so shout out to her. She did let me know that in the most recent episode, she does not like the air horn sound when I do that. So I'm going to cut back on that, mainly because she listens to our podcast when she's going to sleep. So.
Oh, yeah. That would definitely be a little rude awakening. So.
Shout out to her. Thank you for listening, and hope we can play some more Battle Spirit Saga, and I'll try to go easy on the air horn.
That's so exciting, man. I thought of a joke while you're talking about Pikmin maxing. That's what you're doing there with those time
I'm pick maxing, yeah.
Pikmin maxing.
Pikmin maxing, yeah.
It's in the name. And then, yellow, man, that's the best. I wish her all the best with the cute little creatures of the Wander Phase and the lyric birds.
Okay,
And
all the
Fable
cute
Beasts.
all the sport creatures. They all like to play sports.
They do. I think in our last gameplay video, Eric and I were like losing our minds at some of the flavor text.
Yeah, the lore on those is hilarious because there's like these, especially like the mammoth, like these big creatures, like they're trying to play the soccer game or whatever it is. Like, what?
He's like the head of the inter-regional sports competitions.
I'm like, all right,
he's important.
Like, it's funny. Like if you read like purple or like red, it's so aggressive and like dark, and then you go to yellow, they're just out there in the field refereeing.
Yeah,
like whatever. It's
they're
like,
just hanging out. It's immaculate. The vibes are amazing. So like
the Arcana Joker who is punching the penguins.
Yeah, I love that card, but I hate that penguin abuse. I hate it.
It's like, leave the penguins alone.
Oh man, that's really fun. I've been watching One Piece. I'm almost done with the first season, the East Blue stuff. Bought myself a starter deck. Bought the red starter deck with Luffy and the Straw Hat crew, and got a couple of like the tournament pack variant arts for Nami because obviously. But I'm excited to play that game. Found a good TTS mod. Found a builder online, just kind of similar to the Battle Spirit Saga deck builder, bssdb.dev that we have on the screen right here that we've been using. And looking forward to exploring that game just because it's really fast, it's really punchy, and it's Bandai Namco, and everyone's talking about it. We've definitely talked a lot about that recently. So
I didn't know there was a tabletop. I'm going to have to try that out then just to see what it's about.
They've got the 4 starter decks on the TTS mod, and then there's a website where you can build a deck and import it in.
Nice.
Yeah.
Maybe Angel, maybe you and I should play with our starter decks, and Cam can hop in and like walk us through the game so we could learn at the same time.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I'm down with it. Hey, anything Bandai right now, I want to support, so I'm down with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing. Other than that, the Pokemon trading card game, Game Boy Color game, was just added to Nintendo Switch Online. And if you
I need to pick that up.
Yeah, if you've never played that, it's like one of those games that shaped me, and it makes a lot of sense that I used to play the crap out of that game, and I have such vivid memories of it. And now here I am hosting a podcast about card games, but it's fantastic. It's old Pokemon. You only have to worry about like 200 cards in that playset, and it plays like one of the old Pokemon RPGs. You know, you got to get your 8 medals and then take on the elite 4 best card game players. And there's some wacky original characters, and it's got RPG elements, and it's fantastic. Cannot recommend it enough.
I definitely want to pick that up. That sounds right up my alley.
Yeah. Anything card game, the old school, like I think you had picked that up probably about a month ago, Eric. But like, I remember Dark Duel Stories and Forbidden Memories.
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
Which now it's like super hard. I think you were saying in one of the games, I don't remember being this hard. I was like, it was pretty hard back in the day. I just I just don't think we knew what we were doing. It's like,
yeah.
I watched some crazy video essay on the PlayStation 1, which I think was called Forbidden Memories or something like that.
Memories, yeah.
And they're like, the only way you can play this game is if you roll really lucky in the beginning of the game to get this like Thunder Dragon build. And he's like, I hard reset the game 27 times to try to get it. And it's just goofy.
It was that, or it was like, I remember I think in that one you can fuse any cards together and just hope that you would get something crazy. Because I remember I beat one of the it was one of like the Pharaoh guys, and I just ended up fusing a bunch of different stuff. I'm like, man, this game is so like out there. It's not even like Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's still Yu-Gi-Oh. It was weird.
Yeah, it was crazy, but I soaked a lot of hours into that game, never beat it. Yeah. So watching someone on YouTube actually beat it was pretty satisfying. But yeah, kudos to Eric for going back to some of those old games. Good luck.
Yeah, I've kind of dropped off a little bit because Pikmin's been taking up my time. But maybe I'll get back into those when I play this Pokemon TCG game.
Yeah, dude.
That sounds fun.
Let me know when you play it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, let's get into the meat and potatoes is my go-to that I always say here. But we're gonna get right into our Battle Spirits False Gods. I guess kind of a retrospective but current perspective of some of these cards. Eric came up with the idea for each of us to pick. You know what, Eric, you go ahead and just explain it since you're the one who came up with the idea.
So I think it'd be fun. Like, we've had some time to play with the cards. We've seen, the cream rise to the top of our I'm gonna stop with that metaphor. But we've got I just lost it is what happened. But anyways, we've got like our favorite cards from the new set. We've got like our cards that we were really excited to play and then ended up being like not so great. So I thought it'd be fun to just take a look back on, what cards we thought were going to be good that ended up being not so great, cards that we didn't think were that great ended up being amazing, and cards that we were pretty sure were good and ended up proving to be very good. Mm-hmm. So I think first up, we'll just go through, one by one. We've each picked one of these. A card that was kind of a surprise for us. So a card that maybe when you first looked at the set, when you saw the spoilers, you didn't really think much of it. And now you've come to realize that it's an incredible card or just really, really good for whatever reason. So, Cam, do you want to kick us off?
I will.
Get us started?
And
All right.
I want to say real quick, if you want to at home, guess which colors you think we're all going to mostly pull from. So we have 4 cards today. It might be fun for you to just do a little guess and see what we pick. But yeah, I can totally start with a card that I've been playing a lot recently that I totally overlooked in the beginning. Air Brigade Captain Raphael. So this is, of course, a yellow spirit. 7 cost, reduced by 3 bird folk. So we only have like 3 bird folk spirit cards right now. And this is the X-Rare. This is like the leader of them. And in my 2 boxes that I got for this game, I got 2 Raphaels. And I was like, man, I don't think bird folks are going to be it right now. And I totally overlooked this. But for those of you not watching the video, this is what Raphael does. At level 1 for 1 core, it has 4,000 BP. At level 2 for only 2 cores, it has 5,000. And at level 3 for 4 cores, it has 8,000. But it has 3 effects. At level 1, 2, and 3, when this spirit attacks, select a card that costs 2 from your trash and return it to your hand. So it's kind of luster on a stick for some of those cheaper spells. But the way that I've been playing it is in my yellow Fabled Beast 2-cost deck. Because it never hurts to have cards like Flying Turtle to look for your Behemoth or your Dual Eagles, or your Freeze Tall to get those draws. I think, this could also target some Swift cards like Leaf Wolf, so that while you're attacking, you can pick up a Swiftable card and bring that in too. It's just a lot more versatile than I originally gave it any credit for. It's like I don't remember reading these texts on here when we were going through spoiler season. Its second effect, when the spirit attacks, again at level 1, 2, and 3. So both of these effects are going on. If you have 4 or more other level 1 spirits, select 2 of your opponent's spirits, reduce their BP by 3,000 during this turn. Also really
burning
good.
Force.
Yeah, burning force on a stick. And again, only level 1, 2, or 3 for this. At level
out of yellow,
yeah. And so like that works with the drain cards like Drowsy Fumes. That works with Angelic Pressure. That works with Alice, who wants to drain. You can combine these 2 to really do a lot of draining. And again, these 2 effects to me immediately stood out to having a lot of 2-cost yellows on the board, which you want, because that looks like a daunting condition, but it really isn't in a lot of at least the yellow builds that I've played. So I think that's good. And then at level 2 and 3, so for 2 cores and up to 4 or more, during either attack step, when a core is placed into your reserve, select one of your opponent's spirits, treat it as level 1 during this turn. Cores hit your reserve during the battle step a lot. If you're swinging in with a 2 cost and they have to block it, that core is going from that body into your reserve, and then you can target one of your opponent's creatures and make it level 1. This is really good to pair with Dual Eagle, who at level 3 is now saying your creatures with Blessed can't be blocked by your opponent's level 1 creatures. And so it beats some aggro lists. It just folds right into the yellow list that we've been running since set 1. And I'm honestly just excited to see what other bird folk come out to make this card even better in set 3 and beyond. So that's my pick. What do you guys think about Raphael?
I mean, I agree. Like, you know, when I first saw the card, when it was announced, you know, just roughly reading through it, I was like, it's cool. You know, like I said, it's bird folk. There's not gonna be enough support for it. Nobody's gonna play that. And then the more and more, you know, we see it in play testing, and I think we saw a few builds in Gen Con actually that were trying it out. I think it was either like on a Sunday or Saturday, one of the events. It's definitely a good card. Like I said, you're just reading around, just everything that you can do with it is very, very versatile. And like you said, it's a burning force. And with yellow, I mean, as we all know, yellow does not struggle with going wide, like that, you know, immediately. So, I definitely think that that's one card to look out for. And like you said, like we still have way other sets to come out for the rest of the year and beginning of the year that might boost that card up, or, you know, I think yellow will be one of the powerhouses. I think by set 4 we'll start seeing a lot more yellow decks be in the tops. So
yeah,
I think I for the same reasons you all did, I think I just got a little overwhelmed by all of the text on this card, and then saw that it was bird folk and was just like, it's bird folk. Bird folks aren't good yet. Yeah. And I just kind of glossed over it. But man, that first ability where it just says a card that costs 2, you just opened up my mind, because I actually was reading that as spirit. Right. And so I just realized you could grab magic. It doesn't tell you what color it has to be. So that's crazy. And then also the final ability, whenever a core is placed into your reserve, select one of your opponent's spirits treated as level 1. You and I were talking about this the other night, Cam. This also triggers off of Worker Ant-Man, which is a very good card.
Yes. If you're attacking with Worker Ant-Man and you get to ramp, you can immediately activate that before a blocker is declared, and turn something into a level 1 spirit. It shuts down a lot of really powerful cards in the current meta.
Yeah. I think this card could really see some play. I think what's going to maybe stop some people from trying it out is it's a little bit of it hurts your brain a little bit, I think, because there's a lot going on.
You got to play it a couple times and like really look at it in the context of your lists. Like for example, the yellow one that I've been playing a lot on our gameplay videos and stuff. I'm running 2 of these, and your brain just starts making these little connections, and you're just like, oh man, if I can get a bird folk on the field right now, I could probably shut this game down. And it just does so many things really, really easily and relatively cheap. It's a little expensive in most yellow lists, but my point is you have that reduction. You have some ramp in yellow, especially with the Tin Soldiers coming out. I think you can afford to slot Air Brigade Captain Raphael in. At the very least, put it in a sideboard because of all that Swiss Army knife-ness to it. You know, you might find yourself throwing that over into the main deck every now and then.
Yeah, pretty solid card. I dig it.
And honestly, I mean, I know some people are trying out different lists with it, but you can partner that up with the Harpy's Nest Palace Nexus.
That's right.
So that's a good combo on there. I don't know if you want to pull it up, Cam, but that's you know, it's a long wave, you know, but if you have your other combo pieces with that Nexus, I mean, you could do a lot more, and then it definitely becomes even more versatile with having that in play. So
yeah, I'm reading it right now. So Harpy Nest Palace, 4 cost, reduced by 2, yellow Nexus, level 1 and 2. During your attack step, when one of your bird folk spirits is blocked, treat the blocking spirit as level 1. Pretty good, because you can pair that with Raphael's ability. If you suddenly turn the blocker down to level 1, and if it has less than 3,000 BP, Raphael can drain it and kill it. So chump blocks are going to just instantly be wiped away, and Raphael gets to select a second target after that anyway. And then the level 2 ability for only 1 core is during your opponent's turn when a core is placed into your reserve. So this time, you know, like maybe taking life or something. You may exhaust this Nexus to select up to 2 of your spirits, place any number of cores onto them from your reserve. To me, the first thing I think of, and maybe just because of recency bias, is this helps block the mirror match against like Dual Eagle by putting some cores onto things, bumping them up to that level 2 range so that they can chump block some Blessed in a pinch. So there's tech there for sure. And again, I'm excited to see how Birdfolk evolve moving forward, because I'm all in on yellow, and I really like tribal decks, and I think so far, just from the little Birdfolk stuff we've seen, that they're going to play pretty different than most yellow, and I would like to explore that.
And honestly, that even though with the actual spirit, you can't really get over Axe Spider still if he still becomes a thing for some reason, which I think slowly people are kind of winging out. But I'm sure there'll still be some Axe Spiders, at least with the Nexus, since it's not really targeting Axe Spider. It will bring him down to level 1, so you don't have to worry about him not being, destroyed in battle or being so.
Ooh.
Right.
That's
big.
It's good just for that because it's not targeting. So.
Yep. There's some good tech there. You just got to go find it for Axe Spider, and I mean, yeah, you kind of heard it here first about Harpiness Pounds.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Damn, so if we just get like a couple more Birdfolk in the next set, I think this deck could pop off.
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely got its matchups like every other archetype or color, but again, just the Swiss Army knife cards. I really like those.
Dig it.
Yep.
That's a good surprise. I like that, Cam. Great pick.
Thank you. Thank you. How about you, Angel? What's your first card here?
So mine's probably not much of a surprise.
I clicked
but
purple.
You mentioned it. No.
Oh.
Actually, mine's is Worker Ant-Man.
All right.
So Worker Ant-Man, it's very simple text. It's a green card, obviously cost 3 with 2 cost reduction. At level 2, when the spirit attacks, your ramp plays a cord from the void into your reserve if it has a soul core on it. And this card, I think I've put it in almost every deck that I've been trying to build. Because literally, if you go second, turn 2, you're ramping 1 automatically, and your opponent's not gonna want your ramp too much, right? So they're gonna start using the resources to try to wipe that out. So it's almost like a lightning rod. Like, yeah, I'm ramping at least 1 automatically, and sure, use your whatever against it. Any of your magic cards or any of your spirits against it. I probably, honestly, at the end of the day, you just need the 1 ramp. And if you're going second, you're technically ramping 2, right? So,
yeah,
because you get a core from the void. So this card has definitely been very consistent. It definitely, at Gen Con, put in its work and did its thing that I actually ended up taking out Emerald Man and playing 4 copies of Worker Ant-Man. And like I said, any deck that I've been playing with so far, I put him in because it's a force ramp. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. Just attack, a ramp 1. Super cheap, and especially if you're playing a lot of green, he costs 1, so it's like even cheaper. So you open up a couple butterflies or something, you can get him out even cheaper at that point. So this is definitely my pick for Worker Ant-Man. So a green card, not the purple, but green.
Yeah, I mean, I love the term lightning rod. That is so well put, because it's he's always going to be there, and I don't see a ton of tech around this right now. That turn 2 drop Worker Ant-Man, or turn 1 for the second player, drop Worker Ant-Man, get the ramp, a 4K creature as your first one down, like that
you can't
is
Burning
crazy.
Force that.
No, you can't.
Yeah,
you really can't. And the soul core element of it, really the only other green that wants a soul core from my playtesting would be Mushrantula, wants to spend it when it comes down, and Brambor wants it to refresh with the Airborne Crag. But other than that, green doesn't talk about the soul core as much as other colors, and so Worker Ant-Man is just a no-brainer for me. I have nothing else to say.
The other thing about him needing the soul core is it's sitting on top of him. It's not like you spend it to do this.
Right.
So, and he's almost always turned sideways because you just swing with him every turn. It's like they block it and they kill it. Like, sure, I don't care. Like, I got to ramp 2 or 3 times before you did anything about this. So it's really good.
Yeah, they are definitely putting in the work. Worker Ant-Man.
What's yours, Eric? What you got?
My surprise, I greatly underestimated this card, and I think it might actually be one of my favorite cards from the entire set, and that card is Thorn Prison.
There we go. I knew it was going to come up at some point.
When I saw that card, I thought, I think Needle Shot's better because it allows you to pick the spirit that you're exhausting, and with the cost reduction, Needle Shot only costs 1. But the fact that you can exhaust 2 spirits at flash speed, so I'll read that. I realize we didn't read Worker Ant-Man, but honestly, I almost feel like he doesn't even need introduction.
We've read it 1,000 times.
Yeah, if you're a listener of Absolute BSS, you know Worker Ant-Man.
Yeah.
We love that card.
True.
Thorn Prison 4 cost 2 reduction, magic with main flash ability. Select your opponent selects 2 of the refreshed spirits, exhaust them. So when I first read this, I thought like, okay, yeah, you get 2, but your opponent selects them, so like, you know, your opponent gets to kind of choose what happens here. I just completely underestimated the fact that your opponent has 3 spirits out. They want to keep some of them up to block, but they do want to swing in for a little bit of damage this turn, so they swing in with 1. You flash this in, now their entire board is exhausted, and you just go crazy on them the next turn. You just, like, yeah, they take 1 life away from you, but you just beat the crap out of them.
Yep.
Or, like, that's the cool thing, is, like, you can use it as, like, this sort of aggro or like this aggressive or defensive move, because you can, like, also, if they're going to swing in for game, like, nope, now you're not. Like, now,
Right.
now you don't have enough spirits to swing in for game. And now, if we're at the point in the game where, like, that really matters, like, I might be able to swing in for game next turn, because now all your stuff's tapped down. Or I can just play it during the main phase, you know, exhaust your stuff. Maybe you only have 2 spirits to block at all, and I just exhaust both of them, and now you're just wide open. So this card has proven to be fantastic with aggressive strategies, and I almost feel like it is, in some situations, not every, but in some situations, like the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th Ice Shield in my deck.
Yeah.
Like, it really is that powerful in some situations. So
I agree.
Shout out to Thorn Prison, or as Cam and I call it, Thorny Jail.
Thorny Jail. And the
That's
Gundam
good.
artwork for it is awesome.
Yeah, I would say the beam rifle, and then
Yeah.
and honestly, once again, the most annoying card right now, I think, between both sets gets around Axe Spider. So
Yep.
like, they're only, you know, so just go from there. And I think me and Eric were talking about one time, you can set up your core drain. You know, if you're a purple player, you can set up your core drain. If you know, they're purposely not exhausting the spirit, and if you already have depth, you draw off the exhaustion as well. So
Yep.
it's definitely a good card that can be splashed, I think, almost in any color, if I'm being honest. So
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it definitely aids into the purple splash for just some really mean combos. But again, by itself, like Eric said, I think it's as valuable as an Ice Shield in your deck, and it costs the same or cheaper if you're running Worker Ant-Mans or Emmer Ant-Mans or any green. I definitely slotted 2 of these into my yellow deck because, you know, I go wide with the 2 costs. So if I can exhaust a couple blockers, game over.
Yeah.
Cam and I were talking. So, what do you guys think? Would there be a situation where you would run 4 of those and not any absolute ice shields? Or you're not brave enough yet? Because I'm not. So I'll still have to have my absolute ice shields.
So go ahead,
ahead,
Eric.
Cam.
No, you go ahead.
All right. So maybe you're about to talk about the exact thing I was about to talk about, which last night we were playing some games, and I'm playtesting this aggro deck that actually was featured in one of Cosmic's recent videos. And I made some changes to it personally to fit my taste. I'm not saying that I made it better by any means. It's more just like how I like to play.
Right.
So he was not running any ice shields in it. He was running 4 Thorn Prisons. And he actually talked about this in the video, saying that you want to go all in on the aggro with this deck, and you just ditch the ice shields and just put more exhaust in so that you can go really aggro. I am apparently a little scaredy cat. So I put in 4 absolute ice shields. That was one of the changes I made. I also added in a couple other cards to, like, fill out the top area, so that way if the game does go to, like, a mid to long game, I have something to drop other than my little aggro spirits. So I don't know if maybe the deck is better if you just go all in on the aggro strategy, but that's just not really how I play. So but anyways, all that to say, I think it's possible. I think if you're doing all green, I think you could go all in on all of the exhaust effects and not really have to worry as much about needing the ice shield. But to answer your question directly, Angel, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'm afraid.
That was all very well said, and I agree, especially in mono green or even just green heavy with purple splash or whatever splash you want to add. definitely run 4 copies. But also, if you have Ice Shield and have the room in your deck, throw it in, because that card is still very, very good. Don't get us wrong. But I'm going to speak as a budget player, a Casualpetitive player who cannot force themselves to buy a full play set of Absolute Ice Shield when the card is still $18 for one. I never opened a copy of it. And so Eric actually, we traded something, I forget, for one of his extra Ice Shields.
I wanted your the white dragon, armored dragon.
That's
thing.
right. Armored Dragon Enterprise or whatever.
Enterprise.
Which it was definitely a trade down at that point, but I was also like, I really want that card, and I also want Cam to have an Ice Shield.
Yes, so I thank you for that. So when we play test, for events that I'm going to go to, I play test with only one Ice Shield max in a lot of these decks. And so I was talking to Angel before the show, about that specifically. And that's why Thorn Prison is so good to me, because that's my budget Absolute Ice Shield. It slots in for the same cost, and it can essentially do the same thing, which is stall, protect, defend, and survive into the next swing and fool your opponent. And so the flash speed there, man, you play it from your hand too. You don't even have to telegraph that it's coming. And that's what makes Thorn Prison so dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that you could play it outside of green and it only costs you, it's still pretty affordable. You really wouldn't see that coming.
Absolutely.
But what about you, Angel? Would you play without Absolute Ice Shield and instead just play 4 of these?
So, yes and no. I would definitely start with the 4 Absolute Ice Shields in my deck, and then if I felt like it was useless for whatever reason, I would side it out. But just the only thing that I like about Absolute Ice Shield, I think I told this to Cam before the show, was it's playable as a burst and it's playable in your hand, right? So play for free as a burst, or you can play in the hand if you draw into it and you really need it. But the one thing about Absolute Ice Shield that I think I'm kind of hesitant, it's just against Maduke, right? With Maduke, if she has attacks and that Blood Curse, she removes one of your lives into the void. You can still activate Absolute Ice Shield and put that same life from your reserve at least, so you still, are back to the 2 or 3, whatever you need. And as a purple player, I usually try to stay around 3 life, 2 at max. And Thor Prison is good. I mean, don't get me wrong, but Absolute Ice Shield ends the battle, right? And there's been so many games I played where that's what I need. Right. I played against a purple white where they had things like 6 or 7 spirits that. Thorn Prison, okay, these 2, but then I still need to end that battle to, give me the more stall. And I think that's where Absolute Ice Shield for me has a little bit more advantage. It's like I just can block or chump block, and at least I know I'm safe for a whole nother turn, where you can stall a lot longer compared to Thorn Prison. So, but it's still a good card. But I just think Absolute Ice Shield for me still in the competitive, high level, will give you a little bit more advantage than Thorn Prison would, depending on what your deck is, obviously. Different builds. So.
Yeah,
for sure. Well said, y'all.
Yeah, I would say if I'm in a situation where I'm top decking, Thorn Prison could do the job, but Ice Shield will definitely help me survive at least one more turn.
Yes.
So totally makes sense. Next section, these are going to be cards that we have, since they were spoiled, believed that they were good, and they have since proven us right. We were like, oh damn, that card is definitely very, very good. And so mine has actually already been talked about, which is Worker Ant-Man.
Very nice.
So I'm not gonna say much more about it other than Cam and I and Angel too. We I think Angel, you got into it a little bit later because you I think you played green for the first time when it was you and I played it for the first time after Cam and I had already played it a little bit. So but Cam and I have been playing Worker Ant-Man for a while, and I think we instantly were like, damn, this card is so good. So that's my pick for always good. I just like Angel said, I think I could put Worker Ant-Man in. I can just splash him into purple deck, white deck, whatever. You always want more cores. You're never going to say no to more cores.
Right.
So, but anyways, that's my always good card. Cam, what have you got for always good?
My always good has been my boy since the first time I played this card, Emerald Pincer.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yep.
He's the 4 cost 2 reduction green insectoid spirit. Level 1 for 1 core 3k. Level 2 for 2 cores 4k. Level 1 and 2, when summoned, select one of your opponent's spirits and exhaust it. Exhaustion on a stick, on a body on the board that can very easily and cheaply get above Burning Force range. And, you know, spirits can attack the turn they come in on this game. And maybe that's why I really, really love him, because everything else I've been playing my whole life and even currently, you know, you can't always use cards when they first come down. And so in this game, the ability to, in just a vacuum, your opponent has a creature ready, Emerald Pincer comes in, taps it, and can swing in for a hit, is good in my book. And I think he's fun. I think he's fairly cost. I think the stat lines are great. And that's my dude. More exhaustion, the better. And he doesn't have to just be an exhaust build. But also, I was playing him with, like, Derek Dynus, who gives insectoids and carapites Swift. And so swifting in an Emerald Pincer, just like casting a spell, felt really, really good. And so I'm just obsessed with him. I love it.
It's a needle shot with a body.
That's right. That's right.
I think the fact that you get to select makes this card very good.
Yeah, that's big too. You know, wording like that is very important. Like Eric said earlier, you know, needle shot you get to pick. Thorn Prison your opponent picks too. But Emerald Pincer, says you select one of your opponent's spirits and exhaust it, and that can make or break a game. And I've seen it done with Emerald Pincer. I really like that card.
No, it's a good choice. Yeah, that card is it's annoying.
Yeah,
I played against a mono green player at Gen Con, and yeah, dude, it's annoying.
Yeah, he definitely twists the knife a little bit in some of those games that he shows up in.
Yeah.
What's yours, Angel?
So I figured mine would have been talked about, so that's why I had a backup already. But mine originally was Thorn Prison. I mean,
nice.
That's what I was saying. But actually, the other one that I already had in mind too when the set was announced, and I think I play tested it the first time I built a green deck, playing testing with Eric. The Ants Strike Back.
Yeah, good choice.
So it's a 4 cost, 3 cost reduction. You can play it from the burst. When an opponent destroys your spirit, activate this card's main effect without paying its cost. Summon 2 of your Ant-Man tokens, obviously green, 0 cost, Carapace, level 1 with 1,000 exhausted. So that card's just good. I mean, if you're running, if you don't have any spirits for whatever reason, or you're struggling to get spirits on the board, you got at least 2 more Chump blockers for the next turn. But also, depending on what your deck is like, for me, I'm playing purple-green, I'm getting more of that green cost reduction that gets a little bit expensive for me because I'm playing mainly purple, more purple than green, ideally. And it's just good. I mean, you can do a lot with those little tokens. And even if you're playing all green, right? I mean, if you're going all out on an ant deck or a token deck or white deck, they're just useful resources to either sacrifice or sack. I tried a combo not too long ago with a white green deck that I was building where I was summoning tokens, and then there's I forget what the creature is, but you can sack one of your tokens and then draw 2 cards, So
the Thunder God or Loki.
Yes.
The Thunder God. Yeah.
So it's just a really good card, and honestly, like, I'm not worried about the cost because you play for free from the burst. Like, it doesn't matter the cost for. Like, it's a free card for 2 tokens automatically. So that's my choice for sure.
If you're playing green, it only costs 1 a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think the reduction on that card is just insane icing on the cake, because the burst is my favorite burst trigger. When your opponent destroys one of your spirits, which happens way more often than any other burst trigger, you just get to refill the board, especially on your opponent's turn. That's when it feels really good. You get to pop 2 bodies for the one that you lost, and they get to refresh at the start of your next turn and just swing in. It's a brilliant card. It's only good. I really don't see any downsides to that card.
I mean, literally, you could catch somebody by surprise, like Eric was saying. Let's just say your opponent's thinks that he got it in the bag because you haven't played your burst. They might be thinking it's a Star Blast or anything else.
Yeah.
They exhaust your spirit. You combine that with a Thorn Prison. All right, now you have the extra chip damage. Now you're going aggro, like Eric was saying. So it's very defense or aggro, and that's the kind of the theme I noticed with green. You have that flexibility to, even with Swift, right? You
Right.
can either go aggro with it, or you can use it for defense. And that's the one thing I love about green. It's just the versatility that there's there with a lot of their cards and combos. So
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
versatility even after the deck is built. You know what I mean? Like green can in an instant switch from control to aggro or aggro to control. And that's something that not a lot of these other colors can do so well, because the stat lines on a lot of these green creatures are just so good.
Absolutely. I also just want to say this card, I love it thematically.
Yeah.
The fact that like one of your little ants dies and then the ants are like, wow, we're going to get you.
yeah.
Well, if you
It reminds
squish,
me of the movie Ants.
yeah, it's like a real thing in science that if you squish an ant, like in your home, it releases pheromones, and that's why when you kill one, you start to see a bunch of others, because they're coming, because they know there's danger, and they're like swarming to their fallen brethren. Like, so yeah, thematically, it's just so beautiful. You kill one of my creatures, and then the ants are coming in. They're striking back.
Striking back.
And literally, physically striking back at your opponent and dropping that life.
Instead of the Empire Strikes Back, it's the Ants Strike Back.
That's right.
It's like a movie title, The Ants Strike Back.
Oh, you know what? The art style really, I do kind of see the little white ants as like stormtroopers.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the black one is like
Yeah,
Darth
the
Vader
yeah,
now.
exactly.
Or like-
So,
It's so
Palpatine.
they
good.
knew what they were doing. I think they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. The alt art for this card is also very cool.
Yeah. Man, it's stuff like that too that just, like, we were talking about the flavor text earlier on some of the yellow cards, but like this is a cool IP. Like, the more
Yeah.
you play it, the more I really appreciate like what's going on here, and it's just fun. Green is fun.
We were reading some of the ant cards and saw that like there's this whole lore aspect where the ants weren't affected by the like soul cores or whatever raining down from the sky because they were all underground. So now they go up and harvest them
From like
and it's,
abandoned forests and cities and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now they're just
so freaking cool.
building
It is.
empires way faster than they normally can.
And that's why they ramp.
That's why they ramp.
That's why they ramp.
Right? It all ties in together. It's so smart.
Yeah.
We gotta
That's what I
do
love
like a
about this
lore
game.
episode.
And that's what I'm saying. We gotta do a lore episode because I know the book's about to come out here in September.
Yeah.
But that's the one thing about this game. It's I mean, apart from just some of the pictures and drawings or animation styles of it, it's the it reminds me of Magic the Gathering, right? The one thing that
Yeah.
drew me into Magic was you get to read the story about the set that's about to come out, and the cards sort of tie into it. And this game's the exact same way, right? Every set, it's just continuing that story from the original of Novodyne and all the other stuff. So I'm really excited, and it's a good IP for sure. I like it.
Yeah. I agree.
Not to get too off the rails here, but you just reminded me. I used to love the fact that the old Magic, when they had like the fat packs, and maybe this is what you were talking about, they came with actual novels
Yep.
that
That's so
you
cool.
could read. And I miss that so much. They took it out of the fat packs and they added in, I don't even think they call them fat packs anymore. I think they call them like deluxe boxes or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
But it was like, it used to be kind of fun. And
Yeah.
I miss that because it was like they took the books out, and they added in more packs, which is probably what people want. But like, I always thought it was so cool that you get this book. And like, I remember I bought like
Yeah.
a Lorwyn fat pack, and I got like this book that had this whole story about one of the main elves. And I was like, I love this because now I want to play with that card. I want to build a
Right.
deck around it because like
Yep.
I know all about it and I know the story of like who this character is. And
Yeah.
I love that Battle Spirits is not shying away from that stuff. And like this card doesn't need flavor text because the flavor text is the abilities of the card, which is so cool.
Yes. Yeah. That's such a good point. Yeah, it's just neat that, and it's smart, I guess, from building a game and a marketing standpoint, like when you like this lore book coming out with like some new cards and just a full lore book explaining some of these like sports competitions, I hope. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Because when was the last time you got into a game that wasn't based on another IP to draw you into it? You know what I mean? Like mine was Battle Spirits.
Yeah.
But for Eric, I told him, I'm like, hey, they're going to have a Gundam collab set, apparently, set 2. And he's like, all right, I'll check it out. But like, you know what I mean? So it's cool to build up this world and get people invested and have people like look at the cards differently. And then, yeah, like Eric says, deck build. And the more you look into that, the more you're like, man, they really did think of everything. I'm impressed.
Bandai was really adamant about this at Gen Con. I think Cosmic talked about it too on one of his videos. Is that they're sticking to the lore. I mean, people were asking how can we get more collabs, but they said that their main thing is the lore of Battle Spirits, and I love that they're sticking to the guns with it because it's its own unique thing, you know, and that's why they're investing so much. And it's almost like exciting to see if every year we get a different lore set, right? Like this lore set is based off between set 5 and set 7 or whatever it might be. You know, we got set 3 coming out in October. That's a whole, you know, House Blue going to be introduced into it.
Right.
So it's exciting. Like to Eric's point, right? Like if you read some of these cards, or like if you like a hero or a certain, like, you know what, I relate to that. So I'm gonna play a deck around that because that's what I like to do. You know, I think that we do that for a lot of games. It's based on your play style, but it also might be based on the artwork or based on the abilities of the archetypes as well. So
yeah.
I
think the way they've done the collaborations are so smart because it's like, oh, you like Gundams? Well, you have some Gundam cards, and then you get in, and then you're like, oh, I actually really like the IP, and then you're like, oh, actually, I really like Dyna because he has this whole story about how he was killed by the purple people and like maybe like brought back to life or something. Like we don't really know yet. And it's like, I want to build a deck around Dyna just because I think he's really freaking cool and he's a mech and I like Gundams, so I can like kind of, you know, there's so much to it.
Yeah.
I'm calling it right now. If they do a Godzilla collab, I'm all in.
Yeah.
I'm already all in, but a Godzilla collab, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I would love like Godzilla in red, but like Mothra in green, you know, and like some of the other like enemies in the other colors.
Bandai Namco's so massive. They have so many IPs to pull from. Like you can just go wild imagining stuff.
Yep.
And I love it.
It's so exciting. Like, let's address the Naumann elephant in the room. There is like obviously a little bit of talk on like not doom posting, but like False Gods. You can buy it sealed for a lot cheaper on booster boxes right now, and the singles aren't crazy. And there was the whole cheating at one of the Grand Opens and a little bit of lack of support here and there, but like they do have plans. And so again, it goes back to kind of fostering your community. But like if you hear that, just be like, do a little bit of digging into your cards right now, and you're going to see that there's a lot of love and care in this game and the flavor and how that flavor affects the theme and vice versa, how the theme affects the flavor. And yeah, Cosmic said it. They're working on it, and it's going to be around. So,
like I said, it's year one. Remember that, and
that's
I think
right.
I said in the last podcast, you know, just from Gen Con alone, some of the surveys that we had taken and people had input, you can tell the communication's better. If you look at Battle Spirit's website, it's almost been updated weekly with here's this next tour day, here's the next thing we got going on.
Yeah.
So they're definitely listening to that feedback. And like I said, guys, it's a brand new IP for the West, and I say brand new. I mean, Battle Spirit was here before, but it never caught on, I think, as much as they're trying to push this one out. But it's year one, and for year one, I think they have a plan and set. It's only gonna get hopefully better and better. But like, you know, Cam says, it takes a community to do that. So just, you know, support, be patient. No more doomsday pose, because I mean, you can't compare to One Piece or Dragon Ball Z or, you know, the big three, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon. I mean, those have been forever, you know. And Bandai, One Piece and Dragon Ball Z, Digimon, self to self, people know what that is.
Right.
So
that IP is established, but they're working to make this that fourth in their collection. And for me personally, it has worked the other way around. Like, obviously I was into Digimon, but like when I was playing Battle Spirits and saw One Piece and Dragon Ball, it's like, yeah, I'll play them because I love Bandai Namco games. They're all great. I really enjoy them, and they all have their own little quirks, and it's been a lot of fun. So moving from that really positive and bright and happy note, we're about to move into our third category, which is cards that we think suck.
Yes, cards that have disappointed us. All right, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it. I'll take this one.
All right, I think we're all going to feel this way when we talk about our cards because they're cards that disappointed us.
Yeah.
I unfortunately had to struggle between like 3 different cards for this one, but I landed on this one, and that card is Dragno King.
All right, this is interesting.
So I saw Dragno King and I was like, damn, he's really good. 8 cost 4 reduction, Dragonoid Spirit, level 1 for 1 core, 5k, level 2 for 3 cores, 10k, level 3 for 5 cores, 12k. When he's summoned, he volcanic breaks something without having to spend the soul core. When one of your spirits with a soul core on it destroys one of your opponent's spirits via comparing BP, you get to volcanic break again. And then whenever he attacks, he gains 3000 BP, and he's already huge at level 3, that is. So I'm not saying he's a bad card. I still think he is a magnificent card. I think he's going to find a deck, maybe set 3, and maybe even with set 2. Maybe I'm just totally wrong about this. I'm willing to accept that. But I have play tested with him a bit, and when I started building with him, I built a full-on Dragonoid deck. And it was fun, but then I was like, if I'm gonna play red, I feel like Pterosaurs just have a little more synergy or a little bit more streamlined. They just got this new Nexus Hazard card that is very, very good.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't fit in here. So then I was like, well, what if I built like a Pterosaur deck and I had him alongside the Pterosaurs? And then I was like playing around with that a little bit, but then it was just like, okay, but he is like a non-bow with Giganorex, because now Giganorex isn't level 3, because you have this thing that's not a Pterosaur or an Emperor Beast out there. So
right.
I don't know. I just think I think he's a great card. I think his abilities are solid, but I just don't know that in the current, especially because like green will want to go wide, yellow is becoming big, and yellow goes wide. I actually don't know that dealing 6k damage to one thing is as powerful as it was in like the set 1 meta. Like I think if this guy came out in set 1, he might have just like dominated. But I feel like in set 2, he's just missing a couple of the pieces to get him there. And maybe I'm wrong about this card, but I think this was my biggest disappointment from the set.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I've play tested with you with this card. I agree. Like he's super buff and super powerful. He's probably got his matchups, but like if Giganorex is Blue Eyes White Dragon, this guy is Red Eyes Black Dragon. Just a little
perfect.
Worse.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Perfect. Yeah, that is a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
But also, like, when I was a kid, I would play with Red Eyes Black Dragon
right, me
anyways.
too. Yeah.
Because I thought he was so badass.
Cool. Yeah, he's so cool. Like.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I feel about Dragno King, honestly.
Yeah.
But he might just have to wait.
Yep. Anything to add there, Angel?
No, I'm not thinking about Red Eyes versus Blue Eyes, but yeah, no. Like to your point, right? When you look at it and you read the effects, because I was trying to. I think when I built a red deck last week, I went Nova basically, but I started out with the Dragno King because just to win summon, oh my god, 6,000, pop it.
Yeah.
But when you look at everything else, there's just not enough there to really like set up a combo, right? And push him through and keep him there. Because I look at it, you remove Dragno King, and it's to say your deck is based on him. What do you do after that, right?
Right.
So it's almost like you don't have like the Nova, so like Lisa Rex, you have here free summon. He's expensive, he really is. And if you look at the other Dragnoid cards, they don't really do a whole lot to be like, oh yeah, this is really gonna lead up to something. It's just kind of like very subpar effects. Some of them don't even have effects; it's just vanilla cards. So I think it just needs a little bit more support. But it's definitely a card I think we'll see play. And like you said, we could all be completely wrong. And hell, the next Grand Open, somebody wins with this because they come up with something. But just for now, I just feel like it needs a little more extra to really make it viable. Because the effects are it's not bad. It's just, I call them one-trick pony cards. Like, if you can't pop anything, the card is not really, okay, what do you do with it,
Yeah, he's big.
He's big, but throw in prison, or now you're Solstice, now your big guy can't block, so it's kind of like, I don't know, I need more Dragonoid support, I think, for me to really be convinced in that card, but it's definitely a cool looking card, though. And then what I've noticed, too, on the Battle Spirit website for the next Opens, they're very advertising his full art, so maybe something's coming, or maybe he will do something at some point, but yeah, I'm with you. I agree with what you said.
Oh, the second there's a card that, right now we have like the captain that gives all the Dragonoids plus 2k BP, but like
he doesn't need
Dragno King, he doesn't need that.
Yeah,
but
10K with 3 cores on them. Like
Yeah.
Jesus,
Yeah.
like
Just play Dragon Ball if you want like 25k cards.
but the second
off.
there's like a Nexus or something else other than that magic card, which I don't even remember what it is or what it does, but I remember I wasn't impressed by it. So
Yeah.
sorry, audio listeners. But there is like a magic card that deals with Dragonoids, but I don't even know if it's worth talking about. But the second that there's like a really good Nexus that's like all of your Dragonoids gain Confront or something, or like
Oh my
all of your
gosh.
Dragonoids, like like if there's some
Dragon Rush. It says, I think that's what you're talking about. During this turn, draw a card with one of your Dragonoid spirit, destroys a spirit via BP. Is that the one you're talking about?
yeah, like that card is okay, but it's 5 cost, 3 reduction. So it's like
Yeah, and I would almost
and then
argue that works better with some of the Star Dragon stuff, like
Yeah.
10 Sword or whatever.
yeah, well, but it's only for Dragonoid. So it's
Oh,
like,
it is. Wait,
Yeah,
that's
the
weird.
archetypes. Yeah, so it's only for
Yeah.
Dragonoids.
Oh, you're right. It
so-
does. Yeah, my
Yeah.
bad.
So like that magic card is maybe good later. Like I think it's the same thing as Dragno King. Like I think that card is like not great right now, but like could be good later. Like
Yeah.
there's the pieces of a Dragonoid deck here, but it's just there's nothing.
Missing,
There's no
yeah.
glue. There's no glue to hold it together.
Yeah.
It's just like you could make a Dragonoid deck, but then as far as like if we're talking about casual play, like yes, you can make a great Dragonoid deck. If we're talking about competitive play, I just don't see it why you wouldn't play Giganorex and Pterosaurs if you're going to play that style of deck, because I
Yeah.
feel like that just has more pieces for you to build
Yeah,
with.
there's just not enough synergy to, like I said, really just keep that deck's fuel, I guess you could say, going. You know, just kind of like if you can summon them, you pop something if you get a chance on it, depending what you're playing against. But compared to Rex, even like Nova right now, you have a little bit more options and different abilities you can do compared to that.
Yeah, I think even Nova, to your point, Nova has more interesting deck builds that you could do over this right now. But with that said, disappointed now. Every single set, I'm going to be looking at the Dragonoids to see if like there's something I could build though, because I love Dragno King. I think he's a cool card, but
For
disappointed for right now.
Angel, what's your disappointment
Yeah.
card?
So my disappointment card is a purple card.
All right.
The Hangman.
Oh yeah.
So it's a magic. It can also be a flash. Cost 4, 3 cost reduction. It reads: select one of your opponent's spirit. If it attacks or blocks during this turn, remove 4 of its cores and place them into your opponent's reserve. So I originally, when I first saw this card, you know, like typical card game player, I must have not read it correctly or assumed it did something else because I used to against Eric. I was like, oh, cool, you know, somebody attacks me, I'm gonna, you know, flash this in and remove it for your course. It does not work that way. You have to anticipate that they're gonna block or attack with it, and that's where that card falls short with me. I was talking to these guys yesterday, I think on the Discord, maybe the day before. You know, I thought about different like quirky combos, like with I think it's his name. What's his name? Oh my god, I'm brain fart right now. But the ship that a Turbo
the
Rex.
Harrier Turbo Rex.
Turbo, that you can force you can choose what first spirit attacks. You can kind of do a combo like that, but I mean, you're not gonna pay that card just to do that, you know? Like,
Right.
I don't see a world where that's really like what you're gonna use that card for. So I don't know. I'm hoping that later on, maybe there's some weird quirky things for purple that this card's gonna become relevant, because it is. I mean, it's an amazing card. I mean, 4 cores is a lot. You can mix that with Rod and Swamp and all these other things if you're playing a core control deck.
Yeah.
But just on reading it, I mean, for the cost and what it does, I mean, maybe you can kind of bait your opponent like, hey, you're gonna, you know, block with this creature, you're gonna lose them. But I just don't think it's worth it, honestly. So I'm slightly disappointed. The artwork is amazing, though.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Very anime style artwork, so I do like it. But yeah, that's my disappointment. Unfortunately, I was hoping big things for that card and didn't get it. So
I hope that we get more tarot themed cards out of purple, because I really like that theme for purple.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I always love that in any kind of like dark fantasy card game. Anytime they make references to tarot, I'm like, that's cool, because there's a lot you can do with it.
Oh man, the purple card when they do like the death card. Oh man, that card's gonna be sick.
yeah,
I mean, how could you call a card death and not make it like insanely
oh my God.
good? Yeah.
Exactly.
What you got, King?
Mine, I feel awful about saying. I feel really awful about saying.
Oh, I know what you're gonna say.
A full episode after this card. Crocodile.
Not the cute crocodile.
I think Crocodile is not nearly as good as I hoped he was. And I might be totally off base. This might be the most controversial card here, but Crocodile's a 4-cost yellow Fabled Beast Spirit, can be reduced by 2. Level 1 for 1 core, it's 2k. Level 2 for 3 core, level 2 for 2 cores, it's 3k. Level 3 for 4 cores, it's 5k. But at level 2 and 3, this spirit gains Blessed if it has a soul core on it. And Blessed is when you place a core from the void into your life when this spirit's attack reduces your opponent's life. I've been playing around with Crocodile in Fabled Beast builds and in Blessed builds, obviously. He's a little too expensive. Maybe it's the way that I'm just used to playing yellow, that where he bums me out a little bit. I don't see as much value in one body for that much money and a soul core sitting on it. And not to say that the soul core is really used a lot in yellow anyway, but overall I just think what it really comes down to is it's too expensive for me, and his stats aren't that good, and he can only really do better with Dual Eagle on the field. I think Hippocampo's a better card than Crocodile.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Yeah. I mean, I could see that. I mean, like I said, he is expensive, and just looking at it right now, like, he doesn't even have Blessed, so you get him up to level 2. So really, if you play him early on and don't have enough cores, and you don't have a soul core on top of that, it's kind of like, all right, cool, I got a 4-cost, 3k spirit. And like you said, yellow has a lot more. Like, you got Hippo, you got Dual Eagle, maybe some other Fable Beasts that you can play if you're basically playing a Fable Beast deck.
Yeah.
So I could see that. I mean, I was trying to think of, like, how you combo this with something in yellow, but yeah, I'm with you. It's kind of weird. You know, I always like to think that every card has a purpose, right?
Right.
And maybe later on, or some shenanigans with the soul core with yellow. I don't know, but as of now, I could see that. Yeah, I agree with you. Now to think about it, yeah, he's not the best when you have other options, obviously. So
right. And
I've built a couple. I've built a couple blessed decks, and this is maybe where he's fallen for you. He ends up being one of the first cards I cut down from 4 copies. Like, I go down to 2 because I'm like, I don't want to cut him out because I like that he is blessed. But like, if you draw multiples of him, if you can't even give the other ones blessed,
right,
which
without
sucks.
doing something like Lumiere.
Yeah.
But even then, that's only temporary. Yeah, exactly.
But then Lumiere could give it to anybody, so you might as well just put it on, like, you know,
Alice.
Joker.
Joker, who comes in and can't be blocked. Yeah.
But I think this card, if they had, like, it would have been kind of cool if they made a card for every single color that was statted like Worker Ant-Man, but just did a thing for that color.
Yeah.
Like, if they made, like, for, you know, maybe this wouldn't be as powerful, but like for purple, it's like a card that if it has a soul core on it, it has Curse. For yellow, it has Blessed. For green, it ramps. For white, it, I don't know, maybe can block an additional time by spending the soul core. Or like for red, it like deals 2k BP damage or something. Like, I feel like they could have done a really cool design space with that and like mimicked that for every single color.
Yeah.
But and maybe that, because that's almost kind of how I feel about this guy, is he's kind of like yellow Worker Ant-Man in a way, but like not nearly as good because of the fact that he costs 4 instead of 3, and because he does not get over Burning Force range until he has 4 cores on it.
Right. Which in yellow you're not doing. Typically you're going a little wide, or you're buffing up your key pieces.
I think you need those cores for Dual Eagle. Yes. You need those cores for Dual Eagle. You can't put them on Crocodile.
And I think what it comes down to for me, definitely, to piggybacking off the Worker Ant-Man comment, and you and I talked about that last night playtesting, is Worker Ant-Man is good from turn 1. Crocodile, because of his cost, at the point of the game where you can actually get him to the board, he doesn't deliver. Yep. Later in the game, drop in a Crocodile, give it Bless, sure. But like at the 4 cost reduced by 2 stat line, you're kind of looking for him early, right? In your head. But then as you try to play him and get him to do what you want him to do in your deck that you're slotting him in, yeah, I think he's just not delivering like I wanted to. Because, you know, we see Blessed and we lose our minds because it's a very powerful mechanic and it's very rare. So to see it not fire as well on one of these shiny new cards with incredible art, it just really bummed me out. So I might be being way too harsh on him, but he's not the four copy card that I wanted him to be, even if I'm leaning fully into Blast.
You're being harsh on him because you love him. That's why.
Yeah, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Disappointing. Well, like to Eric's point too, I mean, there's other colors do have. I mean, I can think of a few that the cards that require soul cores are a lot better. You know, like on white, you got the Pegason that can, you know, has soul core. You can block anything that has 2 or fewer cores on them. You have purple has Camelot Knight. You have Earth Spider Demon. You have the Assassin that draws cards off it if you have a soul core on it.
Right.
You know, green obviously VP. You know, the VIP Worker Ant-Man. That every other color has better cards that require a soul core. That for yellow, to my knowledge, I think that's the only one, if I can recall, that requires a soul core on it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, cool. I get blessed. I got Hippo. Like, why do I need to pay for? Put a soul core on this guy and tie it up for whatever reason, just to get him blessed as well. So I don't know. It might be kind of a game time decision. You know, I took that from I think Eric's. He told me it's a game time decision. It's you know, but it's I don't know. I'm not sold on it. The artwork is cool though. It reminds me of Alice in Wonderland for sure.
Yeah,
so, I still love the card.
Yeah,
and I think Cam does too.
Oh, so much.
He secretly loves. He's just disappointed in it so bad.
Yeah. Well, if I'm not using it in my decks, I can make a 3D card out of it or something. Cut them all up.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
Actually,
I'd love him.
He would be a cool 3D card because he's got a lot of depth to his image.
He does.
Little scales.
Yep.
Wait. I've never read his flavor text before. Now homeless, fairies were welcomed by the fabled beasts with open arms.
Yeah, so on Raphael's card, it says that the bird folk are sending some reinforcements to the fairies to help. So the fairies got fucked up by the event, like the core event, I guess.
Yeah, because they're all up in the like trees and stuff, so they just got like
destroyed. Yep.
Yeah. Poor fairies.
I know.
Man, Crocodile's such a good guy. He's like harboring these fairies in their time of need, and we're just dissing on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's over there fixing Rolexes, man, and we're just giving him shit. Like, sorry, man.
I do think if his level 2, if it just was like 4K instead of 3K, this would be a different conversation. Like, there's just really minor tweaks that I don't even think would make him overpowered. I think it would just make him good.
I agree.
But that sucks. I do love him though. He's cool.
Yeah, he's still best boy. All right, so go for it.
Yeah, did we all go with our disappointment card?
I think so.
I think we all did.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. All right, last section here. How do you want to introduce this, Cam? Because it's basically going to be Champ or Chump.
Yeah. So it's just a round of Champ or Chump for all three of us. We both brought a card that we're still trying to figure out in set 2 and get some input from the other guys here. And I'm sure, we've talked probably about a couple of these in the Discord already. So join the Discord.
Yeah.
And just Champ or Chump.
Who
wants to go first here?
Champ or Chump.
Want me to start off?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, it's gonna be a yellow card. It is the Void Lord, Falling Angel, and I'm not even gonna try to say that. I don't know, Sadia, Acadia. So yeah, Champ or Chump. I saw people playing this at Gen Con. It's a cost 10, like I think most Void Lords do, with 6 cost reduction.
Yep.
Level 1, level 2, level 3, when summoned, all non-Void Lord spirits are treated as level 1 during this turn. If he's at level 2 for 4 cores during your attack step, while your Void Lord spirits are attacking, they cannot be blocked by spirits with fewer BP than them, which is huge. And then level 3, he has Luster. So, not sure how, I've seen it put in some work, but it also targets your own spirits as well. And that's kind of where I'm like, when do you play this? Like, it's just for like take the last life on your opponent for some reason, which 9 or 10 times you probably have an absolute ice shield or maybe a thorn prison now. So it's, I don't know. I'm undecided for it. Like I feel like it is good out of at least compared to the other warlords, but at the same time, like it's not good. Especially because it's expensive. And the other thing too, like, which I wonder if later on we're gonna get more support for, is that while your warlord spirits are attacking, so like it's gonna be a combo one day. We can have like multiple warlords on the field, and just all of them just push for damage. So I'm not sure. What are you guys feeling about it?
Is it? There's like a card that was spoiled in this lore set, and I'm sorry I'm talking out of my ass right now because I don't know that we have a way to quickly reference it. But I think it says I think it was the dog, maybe like the little ghost dog. I think it is treated as a void lord, or like there's some magic card that treats your spirits as void lords or something. So
that makes
that could be
effect
relevant.
way better.
Yeah.
See if I have the picture on the dog.
While you're looking for that, but I agree that first effect where everything gets treated as level 1. I think you and I, Cam, have talked about this a couple of times. Like I keep thinking oh, this goes in with Dual Eagle, and then I'm like, oh, never mind, because it shuts off the Dual Eagle effect. So unless you play Dual Eagle second, but are you really going to drop a 10 cost card and then also play Dual Eagle on the same turn? Like, I mean, maybe if you have all of that reduction, but if you have all of that reduction already, do you really need to win more? I feel like
the luster to me just feels like theme too. What else would it do? The purple guy has curse, the red one kills everything, the white one bounces, so they're slap luster on the yellow one.
Luster on the The dog that you're talking about, Eric, is called Light Aegis General Felinus. It's a 2 cost with 1 cost reduction at level 1, 2, or 3. When summoned, you may select one of your opponent's spirit. It gains Warlord spirit type during this turn.
Your opponent's,
but it's your opponent's spirit. So why would? It's weird.
I think there's a magic card that says kill or all of your opponent's void lords, or maybe it's not that powerful, but it says something like your opponent's void lords can't attack this turn or something like that. So maybe that's it. But well, that sucks that it does it to your opponent, because now I'm not really sure that makes sense. But
and we've talked about the void lords as a group a lot on this podcast, and so I think in the context of void lords, out of the 4 of them, I would consider it a champ with the purple one. But yeah, man, looking at this and after playing a lot of yellow, there are little combos that are somehow cheaper that you can string together to do what this card does, and I would say even better. I think I would lean on the side of Chump in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I agree. I think I would go Chump as well. But I love that King Charles Voidlord deck, which I haven't even played with in a while because I feel like I've been playtesting more competitive decks.
Yeah, but I think about that deck a lot.
That deck is not competitive by any means, but man, does it feel good to rip a Voidlord off the top of your deck and play it for free. And it happens, but also it takes so much setup, and then now that I've seen how good Thorn Prison is, you just Thorn Prison the Voidlords, and it's you got 15k BP. Well, good for you. They're both exhausted now.
Rip all the wind out of my sails. Awesome.
Yeah.
I spent all this money to put this angel down, and it can't even do anything.
Exhaust. Yeah, I didn't. And talking about IPs, I think Battle Spurs is the only game I can think of, and I could be wrong, but at least that I played, that the theme around the set or the booster pack or whatever, the cards are not that good,
Yeah, that's so
this
true.
Is false gods, right? It's supposed to be about the void lords, and they're not oh my. I thought they were gonna be OP, and oh my god, you have to play them because you want to play the theme of the set, and it's not. I recall Yu-Gi-Oh themes and all that. Ideally, Thousand Eyes Restrict or
the Egyptian God cards.
The Egyptian God cards, those are cards that are relevant. Even in Magic the Gathering, right? So it's weird that for this set, that being about the Void Lords, they're okay, cool. They look cool. The Gundam versions are cool. But
the Gundam versions are sick.
They're also regular rares. I have multiple.
I've opened cards.
I've opened way too many copies. I've opened way too many boxes, I will admit. So I'm coming from that standpoint. I've opened 4 boxes and pulled 3 Gundams out of my 4 boxes, which is insane. But I will say, I have over a playset of all of the Void Lords except for the Ogre. I have 3 of the Ogre, but I have I have like 5 of all the other ones. So
Remind me
it's
next
kind of like,
weekend. I'll bring you one. I have plenty of the. I guess because I'm a purple player. It's
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
I got plenty. I'll bring you one.
I think the only thing we can talk about that off camera actually. Never mind. But
Yeah.
yeah, let's do some trades because I got a bunch of extra stuff that you might need. But
Yes, that's my chump. So what do you guys got? Whoever's going next.
yeah, I think Chump on that.
I
for
say
sure.
Chump.
We're all in agreement. Chump, right?
Yeah.
Chump.
Let us know in your
All right.
hate mail or in the Discord if you love Fallen Angel Acadia. Eric, what's yours?
All right. I never thought we would be here with this card.
Interesting.
So I know that you said Crocodile might be the most controversial thing we talk about on this episode.
Oh,
I think this
no.
might.
Are you about to say Emmer Man?
Emmer Ant-Man is my champ or chump because
Wow.
I was very solidly on champ all the way on Emmer Ant-Man. And some things have happened recently, like playing at Gen Con and then playtesting with Angel that have made me change my mind a little bit. And here's the thing, like, I still think the card is great. Fantastic card. I think that what's happened with me is I just don't know if it's like an automatic, like slotted into every deck, even if maybe you're not even playing green as your main color kind of thing. I think Worker Ant-Man is definitely that. Emmer Ant-Man I thought was that as well, but I've kind of changed my mind a little bit. So really quick, Emmer Ant-Man is a 2-cost 1 reduction green spirit. Level 1 for 1 core, 1k. Level 2 for 3 cores, 3k. And when it's destroyed, you place a core from the void into your reserve. So, yeah, let's discuss. What do you guys think?
So I think he's a Chad Chump. He's like both, right? Like I think me and Cam were talking about this, and Eric, you and I were working on one of your decks, and slowly I told you just work him out of it. And I'll say this just from playing with Emmer and Ant-Man. I was on board too. I was on the hype train, like, oh my god, he's amazing, he's cheap. I can ramp 1, and I played him in Gen Con, and by Saturday, so after 2 days of playing, I completely took him out, and that just shows working Ant-Man. I think the problem with this card that I have is that your opponent knows what you're trying to do with it, right? And I was telling Cam this before the show. It's like, unless you purposely block, right, which they're probably not going to attack you till they have another way of, whatever they're going to do with it. It just sits there. It just sits and sits and sits. And that's what happened to me when I was playing. It just sat there and sat there that by the time I need that ramp, I've already have enough cores just with my regular turn phases going on. We're working Ant-Man. There's other green cards that give you the Heavenly Cloak Butterfly, right? You force that ramp no matter what. I think it's just better. I mean, like I said, by no means is it a bad card. It's just you're looking for that early ramp. Your opponent, if they're a smart player, they're probably not going to give it to you because they know what you're trying to do. That by the time you get that ramp finally, it's just like a bonus core. Cool, now I got this core on turn 6. I needed you turn 2, turn 3. So that's my problem what I have with it. So for now, I'm going to say Chump just because really there's other cards that take that place for that ramp ability. Hell, there's better magic cards from green that you can get cores a lot faster than you will with Emmer and Ant-Man unless you block with them, so.
I think it's interesting that you bring up Heaven's Cloak Butterfly because that was actually a strong runner-up for me for my surprise card.
That's fair. That card.
Because I underestimated that card and it's good. But anyway, sorry, Cam, go ahead. What were you going to say about Emmer Ant-Man?
Cam, before you go, the only thing I would say about Emmer Ant-Man that I think would have made it better if you remove by opponent. That would have been good because now you can combo it off with Deadly Balance or anything else if you're playing purple green or any other card. Go ahead, Cam. That's what I'm saying.
No, that's a really good point to throw in there. My thing with Emmer Ant-Man, I've had a lot of fun with this card in green purple. Not because you can bomb it yourself, but just because maybe it was early on. Like people get a little scared. They don't know what the tempo's going to be like against green. So they do chump block and kill your Emmer Ant-Man, and they give you that ramp. I tried to play him in my yellow 2-cost deck because a lot of those cards reference just any 2-cost card, and I'm thinking, hey, maybe I can add ramp to an already pretty decent yellow ramp with Emmer Ant-Man thrown in there. And I took all of them out because he doesn't ramp as well outside of green than you think he would. However, I still have to call this card champ, I think, because with just the state of the game right now, if you're running green, it's probably majority to mono. And he's a great card to see at any point in that game, the way that green wants to play. Because towards the end of the game, he's a body in a wide board, and the more ramp you get while you're trying to finally stamp your opponent out, the better, with cards like the Queen. That extra ramp, no matter when you get it, is going to help if you are running Queen with your Emerant Man, which thematically makes sense. You know, you want your ants together. So I think he's good in the control deck. He's still good ramp. Ramp is never bad in my book. And for the aggro lists, Emerant Man gets the job done.
I think that was where I've become so unsure about him, is
Yeah.
the fact that I initially thought he goes in every deck. But
Yeah.
now I'm starting to understand him a bit better and understand that he does not go in every deck, but there are some decks that he still is very, very good in.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I'm so torn on him.
Yeah. I would argue that he's still one of the more valuable cards, just not as valuable as Worker Ant-Man or, you know, Matt Butterfly in Heaven's Cloak Moth or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So
you made a valid point. I mean, I guess if you're playing mono green, you know, I'm thinking like cards like Stamina Recovery that forces ramp on
Yeah.
top of your green spirits. I guess what my head was that I guess in other decks mixed in, but like you said, maybe like mono green or straight ant token kind of build.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he would cost you 1, I guess, at that point with a cost
Right.
reduction. So yeah.
yeah, and you don't have to keep cores on him. He's basically a token that ramps, I would argue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's how I treat him.
and that's
He's just
good.
a chump blocker.
Yeah, he's still so much fun to me. Like when they do have to kill your Emerant Man, and you get to play Ant Strike back. Like it just feels good. I still think he's very champ worthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Angel's Chump came as champ. So now, even though I came to this conversation undecided, I have to make a decision, I guess, huh?
You do. You have to definitively say if Emerant Man is a champ or a chump, and everyone will quote us on it.
Here's the thing. I think I partially feel about him the same way that you felt about Crocodile.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's so tough.
Yeah.
Because, like, I do really, really like him. Like, even beyond the card itself. Like, I think it's such a cool card. Or, like, you know, the usability of the card. Like, I like the card.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go champ still. I think that it's still a good, like, a good ramp card. I just think that I need to be more selective about where it goes. I think I need to really think through, like, if I'm adding, like, Worker Ant-Man, I think goes into my deck, no question. Like,
Yeah.
I get to, and especially if I'm playing mono green, I think Heaven's Cloak Butterfly is the same way.
Yeah.
But I think Emerant Man is like, do I see myself wanting to chump block things and getting extra value out of it? If the answer to that question is yes, then Emerant Man is the one for me. If I'm like, I really want to, like, put pressure on my opponent to make them have to decide, you know, do they block this thing? Like, maybe Emerant Man's still good there. But if I'm just like, you know, I'm trying to, like, do something else with, like, purple or something with, you know, like, maybe, like, really token heavy or something, like, but, like, more like white green tokens or something. Maybe he doesn't quite slot in there as much. I don't know. I think I just need to think about him more whenever I'm adding him in. So that's, I still think I gotta go champ just because I really like him, but I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna go back and forth champ chump with him for a bit.
Yeah. That's fair.
So
Well, I guess mine then, yeah, and then we'll wrap this up. And
Yeah.
this is our
and
first.
these are difficult conversations.
I know. I know.
It feels so intense.
So
People
this
think,
one-
politics, people think politic conversations are difficult. Talk about battle spirits.
Yeah. Who'd you vote for in the last election? How about more like, who's better, Emerant Man or Heaven's Cloak Butterfly?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean-
wow, that's gonna rip families apart, man.
Yeah.
My card that I brought to the table is the first Nexus that we're talking about today, I think. This is Sacred Tree Stump City. So this is a green 4-cost Nexus that comes in the 5th starter deck. Can be reduced by 2 at level 1 and level 2 during your attack step. The first spirit you control that attacks each turn gains 1,000 BP for each green spirit you control. So if you only have one green spirit, it is still getting that 1,000k bump. And at level 2 for 3 cores, during your opponent's attack step, draw a card when your opponent reduces your life. I want to hear what you guys have to say first. And then
first of all, quick shout out to the Discord, because we had a very lengthy discussion with our community members about this card, which was very fun. So join the Discord.
Yes.
Link in description if you want to read some of that. But I'm going to say what I think maybe I said in the Discord as well, which is, one, the costing on this card is a little weird. Like the level 2 for 3 cores to then draw a card when your opponent reduces your life. Like, that's very expensive. And also, you draw a card when your opponent reduces your life, which is something that you really don't want happening. Right. So it's like, is that like a catch-up mechanism? If it is, like 3 cores is a pretty hefty investment onto this thing. Like maybe I'd rather play a creature to chump block instead. I don't know. But I do want to say the first ability, the first spirit you control that attacks each turn gains 1,000 BP for each green spirit you control. You were playing this against me. Was it last night that we were playing and you played this?
This would have been before last night, whatever the last time was when we played.
Either way, I have a memory of you swinging in with Worker Ant-Man, ramping a core, and then he was like 7k or something.
Oh, wait. And this was last night. I'm sorry.
And it just made him like really difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
And in fact, the dude we were just talking about, Emerant Man, I mean, this can bump him up quite a bit as well. And then you have this decision, like, do I chump block an Emerant Man
with something bigger than normal?
Do I trade with the Emerant Man and now you ramp a core? Like, I don't know. I think that first ability maybe is pretty good. I think second ability, just because of the costing, is just, it sucks. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I'm interested to hear what everybody else thinks
before I make a decision.
Decision, yeah.
What do you think?
See if we can sway you. So
yeah,
for me, I don't like the card for a couple of reasons, right? Like, once again, if I was to change this card to make it better, if I would use it just for the first effect, instead of being just the first spirit, it would just be any spirits that you attack with this turn, right? Because you'll buff up your first spirit, cool, depending how much life your opponent has or whatever shenanigans they might do. They'll just probably just take the damage, and after that, your other spirits are the same BP, so it doesn't really matter at that point. And then, to Eric's point, like, you have to take life to draw a card. You only have 5 life, right? And I was even thinking when he was talking, like, well, can you mix this with Blast or whatever? It wouldn't make sense, right? Because you have so many other cards, other cards that you can draw a lot better. I mean, you got Star Blast Draw. That's super prominent on this meta right now. When summon effects, you can draw 2 cards for free. You still have, it's a little bit more expensive, obviously, but you have Depths, right? That you draw every time a spirit is exhausted on your opponent's side. And you don't have to take any life or any risk. I just think the risk is too much with that one card that you get to draw, right? Like, let's just say you're, I don't know, I'm thinking 2 life.
Yeah.
And you take the damage, you draw, like, what are the chances that you're going to draw exactly? I mean, it can happen, obviously, but I mean, at that point, like, I don't know. It's a weird card. I'm not a big fan of it, honestly. The only thing I do like about it is, once again, the artwork. It reminds me of, like, the Hidden Leaf Village or something. Like, it's a whole little community like that. I do love that. But I just think there's so many other better options for if you're looking for the draw effect out of this. And like I said, if the level 1 effect was just that any spirits that you attack with this turn, but it's just the first spirit. And I'm just thinking, okay, I'll just block your first spirit, or I'll just let that go through. And now this card, what else do you use it for then, right? Like, so I don't know. I don't like it. I'm gonna wait for my decision too, just in case one of you guys change my mind. But for now, I'm gonna go with the opposite side of that. I just don't like it. I think it'd be a chump in my book. So
if y'all don't mind indulging me for a second while I put my game designer hat on, because I want to comment on some things Angel said.
Sure.
I think So if you make it to where every single spirit you control gets 1,000 BP, I think that might be a little overpowered. But how cool would it be if it was like for every refreshed green spirit you control, it gains 1,000 BP for like it gains 1,000 BP for every refreshed. So like as you're swinging in with stuff, that gets lower and lower. Or on the contrary, what if it was like for every green spirit you control, it gains 1,000 BP? What if these effects were switched? Like, how playable would this card be if for 0 cores you could draw a card whenever you take damage, and then for 3 cores, all of your green spirits gain 1,000 BP whenever they attack for every green spirit you control? Like, that would. I don't feel like that would be too. Maybe I'm wrong about this. Like, maybe that is overpowered still, but like, I don't know that would be too overpowered. Like, I feel like I'd make it pretty playable.
No, I mean, that's a good idea. I mean, I'm even thinking like the opposite, right? Instead of your refresh spirits, I'm thinking about green. Green's about ants and things that work together, insects and all that. You kind of swarm in. So what if it was like you just said, maybe for every refresh spirit that your opponent has, and as you start chumping them down, then they get weaker and weaker because you're not attacking the horde, basically. So, wouldn't be bad.
Yeah.
Designers, if you're listening, fix this card.
Yeah. So,
all right, Cam, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. I don't think I'm going to change your mind, but I definitely do have a much different perspective on this card. It was brought to our attention in the Discord when we were talking about the brand board build, trying to make that work. Airborne Crag also comes in the starter deck, and it's really, really good because it lets you refresh a spirit with your soul core on it when it kills something. So what does it do? I just butchered that. That's not exactly what it does.
Airborne Crag says, so at level 2, during your end step, refresh any of your spirits with a soul core on them.
That's right. So the magic
interesting
tech
wording there.
Came up here.
Interesting wording there. Any.
I know.
No, I'm like, can you have more? Can you copy multiple soul cores?
Yeah, maybe in the future. That would be really cool. But yeah, so that's what that's the magic tech, right? You get Brandboard down, you give it confront with the lightning aura spell. It's super cheap. It has the soul core on it and Brandboard's ability baked into it. Basically, he can kill anything that's weaker than it. So I was looking at this to make Brandboard better in the end game where 9k isn't enough. So naturally, you can bump Brandboard up by even just a couple of other creatures on the field to like a 12k, and then it starts covering like some really big white spirits and anything with just a bunch of cores on it. So in a Blade Beast setting, I think it's pretty good. There are a lot of other kind of conditional things where you want creatures with 4,000 or more BP. But then when I was playtesting it and had Worker Ant-Man out at the same time as it too, it keeps Worker Ant-Man around even longer and makes him even more of a threat while he's ramping. And so that's really fun too. And I think with green, the obvious thing right now, like the green meta, the thing that's better is aggro, going wide, throwing the ants out using exhaustion over the Blade Beast mechanic and over Swift as a mechanic. But I think it's in the starter deck for that reason that, you can Swift in a creature, get that extra buff, and the first spirit you attack, you're seeing more spirits. But in the context where you're not seeing a bunch of other spirits, like you're not trying to go for making one guy a 15k like the Dragonoid guy. In the context where this is on the field, where you're trying to make one of your things really, really big for whatever reason, whether it is to force the ramp, whether it is to Hunger Tree even, like a Blade Beast thing, keep your ants alive. I think it's the versatility of it that does make me like it. The level 2 effect, I agree, is so expensive. And for what? But I think outside of what the current green meta is, this card just makes for really, really fun interactions that nobody is expecting in green. And therefore, I think it is cool, at the very least. I don't know if I would call it champ, but I don't think I would call it chump. And for how versatile that level 1 effect is, I think I will lean towards champ right now.
Yeah, I think I will have to land on chump, but I do like I'm gonna give it chump, but also, do I hate seeing this card across from me? Absolutely.
Right.
So, will I be surprised if I change my opinion to Champ later? I don't think so. I could see that happening. I think I just need to see like something cool with it, and maybe that'll be something in this set, or maybe it'll be something in the next set. But it's definitely a cool card. But I think, yeah, if I had to pick something, like, I'd pick Chump for this guy.
What about you, Angel?
Yeah, I mean, like at least the way like you said it, right. The way green is right now, to me, I think of green almost like what yellow is. You go wide with green, you don't go tall, right?
Right.
There are a couple spirits in green that Brambor, the Blade Beast, that could use a little bit more of the going tall. I forget his name. See if I can find him real quick. I just saw him.
Ellis Moth.
Is that his name? It's the one where if you. No, Daimyo Beast.
Oh, Daimyo, yeah.
Yeah, Daimyo. So the start of steps, like when you spirits with higher BP, plays a core, but it's actually during your opponent's attack steps, so never mind, that wouldn't even matter. So I don't know. I would say Chump for me. Just like Eric said, I wouldn't be surprised if later on maybe it's a crazy combo or something. I just don't see it right now, especially with green, like you said, goes wide, aggro, exhausting, that you don't really care too much of being tall. And this ain't a game, or at least not yet, where like you're doing BP damage. Like it's more like, can I go wide and attack your life? Do you have an absolute ice shield? Do you exhaust my spirits? You don't? All right, I'm just taking life. I think maybe later on, when we start getting spirits that have the 2 damage on them, which I think the first set that will have that will be in, I think it's in January or February, with step 4. That's going to be, I think, the first time that 2 little, I don't know what to call them, like little damage counters will be at the bottom of the cards. Maybe at that point it matters, because now you really want to get rid of those creatures and you want to force that block. With a higher BP, or you can force it to attack something. But I just, for now, I'm just stick with Chump on that card. It looks, like I said, love the artwork, but I'm stick with Chump on that.
That's fair. That totally works. I'm having fun playing with it, but I do understand why people aren't like shitting their pants about it. At least yet. So yeah, that'll do it then for.
I'd love for you to make me shit my pants over that card, Cam. Do it.
I'm gonna try. I'm working on it. All right. Well, that's gonna do it for this week's episode of Absolute BSS. The link to the Discord will be in the either description down below if you're watching the YouTube video, or in the show notes if you're listening to the podcast version. So come on in, hang out. We've been getting little IV trickle of new life in there. And it's been really fun to have these kinds of discussions, but like in real time with all of you. But yeah, let us know what you think about your set 2 experience so far, what your champs, what your chumps are, by getting in the Discord, talking to us, or emailing us at absolutebsspod@gmail.com. Find us on socials at absolutebsspod. And you're already listening or watching, so thank you very, very much for checking us out. Anything else you guys want to add here at the end?
That's it. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
Yeah, and thank you guys for hanging out in the hacker den with me once again here.
Anytime.
I love it.
Anytime.
It's so much fun.
Yep. So next week we'll be talking Grand Open prep. So be looking for an episode leaning a little more into the competitive side, if that's your thing, next time that we upload. Until then, check out the gameplay videos. And again, hop in the Discord. That'll be fun. All right. Have a good one, everyone. Goodbye.
See ya.
Peace.
Bye.